beautiful souls. It's very early in the morning, but I was feeling inspired to this topic, which is kind of a challenging one, but I felt I had a way of explaining it that might release some resistance to the idea. So a lot of beings on our planet right now, or human beings on our planet right now, really struggle with this idea of like there's no such thing as good and bad. They're just, everything's neutral. Because they're like, well, what about fill in the blank? You know, war and death and sickness and blah, 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 you know, murder. Like, spirit can't possibly think that's okay. And so humans get really wrapped up in that. But spirit doesn't have that perspective. It's not so specific, because you say, well, how can something divine or, you know, be okay with that? And spirit just kind of inspired me to an example or a way of explaining it that might help with the understanding of what's going on there. So when you incarnate, a very small piece of you is projected down into the physical reality. Most of you stays in the non-physical as your higher self, your inner guidance, the part of you that's experiencing multiple versions of this expression of you in alternate realities and so forth. So there's that too, okay? So like the experience you're having in this moment is just one of infinite versions of you in this incarnation, and your higher self is experiencing all of them. So it's not going to necessarily be attached to one outcome, because it's also experiencing the opposite. So there's that. But two, when you go to see a movie, okay, so when you incarnate, you're in one chapter of your eternal experience, right? When you pass, you move on to the next thing, right? When you end in this current incarnation, that's not it for you, right? Now, obviously, here it feels much more, you know, finite. So it's harder to wrap our head around that concept. But to spirit, it's just like, oh, I woke up, I went to sleep, I woke up, I went to sleep. Like, there's no difference, because your eternal higher being is still there the whole time, right? Just like it is when you go to sleep. You're not like, oh my God, I'm going to sleep. It's just like, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to wake up the next morning. Like, you don't have attachment to it, right? But the example they wanted me to give was when you go to a movie, right? There may be scary things that happen. There may be intense things that happen. Maybe a character dies. Maybe a character is brutally beaten. Whatever it is, you have that experience. You go, wow, that's really intense and stuff. But you have an awareness that that's an actor, right? Like, you're not actually witnessing that really happening. Like, you're seeing it, you're observing it, but you recognize the actor is not actually really getting hurt, right? The character is. The actor isn't, right? And so that's how spirit sees this. And discomfort is just a physical thing, right? Anything that happens to you in the 3D doesn't ultimately disturb your inner being, your soul. This idea of a broken soul is inherently not really accurate. Your body can hold that trauma, your body can hold on to that, but your soul is always intact no matter what. So spirit sees what happens in your incarnation as the character, and your inner being like recognizes that it's the actor. When you pass, you're just going to become another character. And spirit sees everything that happens on this planet from that perspective of, oh, we're just playing out characters. Like, when you perform a show on stage, you may go on, have a sword fight, and have an argument and stuff like that, but you walk off the stage and you're pals. Like, you're a team. You're, you know, your character may have killed the other character in a sword fight, and you walk off and you're like, ah, that was good, we did so good, like, oh, you did so good in that bit, blah, blah, blah. and you'll just do it again tomorrow, or you'll play different roles the next day. That's how incarnating works. But because we want to so fully immerse ourselves in the character, we choose to turn off the awareness that we're that actor, that we're that eternal being. And so to us, it feels so much more definite. But ultimately, it's so much more broad than that. And again, bringing in that other piece of there are infinite realities. So hypothetically, you know, you're in a sword fight and you die in one, and in another reality, you're in a sword fight and you win. So your higher self isn't attached to one or the other, because it's experiencing both, and you're getting all of that soul expansion from every version of yourself. And that's how manifesting works, because it's not that you're creating something new, it's that your consciousness, as you tunes into a different reality where that thing is happening, bad or good, or, you know, wanted and unwanted, which is pretty cool when you actually think about it. And once you hit 5D, you can more consciously flip around, almost like flipping around to different channels of different versions of yourself. You can just go boop, 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 experience different realities. And that's what your higher self is doing, except it's experiencing all of every single possibility, because it's that broad. And when you think about it, when it's that broad, why would you be attached to one little moment? Your higher self just goes, wow, this is all this like growth in all these different directions. It's expansion on like a whole other level. And our 3D mind just cannot conceive of it, because it's not supposed to. Our 3D mind is here to experience the physical in a very physical, linear way. The brain is not meant to compute these higher awarenesses. So even this idea that's been like really brought down into the 3D, like it's a concept we can sort of understand, and you can see that humans are starting to understand this better by the media we're consuming. I mean, look at Marvel. They're exploring all these alternate realities things, and it's becoming something we're grasping more, and it's because we're awakening to these higher levels. It's because we are awakening to a 5D experience, and so we're able to conceive of it better. And that's why they talk about these upgrades, where it's our body has to upgrade so that it can now perceive and experience these higher levels of awareness. So our brains now, the brains that are coming onto the planet as the small children, every time there's a new generation, I'm literally like downloading this as I'm saying this, every generation's brain is slightly different. It's leveling up because each generation of souls is asking for something a little more tuned, a little more open, a little more aware. And so slowly over time, our brains and our perceptions are evolving to be able to experience more 5D experiences. So yeah, I hope that brought some clarity to the everything's neutral until you put a story around it, because essentially the idea is everything's neutral because we're experiencing all of it until you decide to delve into the story and decide it means something. Because hypothetically, if you're experiencing every single different reality, there is no inherent meaning to the one experience. It's the fact that the point is to experience all the experiences. So none of it's wrong or right. It's just that you've tuned in, because of vibrational tuning, to that one particular one. And the cool thing is you can decide to tune into something else. But we're not taught that. So that sounds crazy to us. It's like, oh, I can just tune into a different version of myself. But hypothetically, what if that's the case? And the only reason you're not doing that is because you don't believe it's possible. So I offer to you, not that you have to radically change your entire perspective, but that consider that that's a possibility, because that alone will help you start tuning in a more easy way. It'll help you lean into the possibility that you can tune in a more easy way And you might find that you jump realities far faster because now you're open to the possibility that it's a thing. All right, beautiful souls, I must dash-a-roo, but I hope this was helpful. Comment down below if this is anything you've heard before, or if this is brand new to you, if it was helpful. Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah, much love.